Do I have to record the session as well?
Are you already live?
Not yet.
Okay,
I
great.
am. I am.
Okay. Yeah, so you have to start addressing the audience. Can you please share the link to the live thing?
Okay, sure. 1 second. So, hello everyone. My name is Rashi, and today I'll be taking your guided newspaper sessions. So, we'll be just looking into an article and learning few new words out of it. So, there are two main paragraphs. I'll be reading one myself, and the other one you can read it with me, and then we can look into the important words and learn which one is like learn the importance and like the meaning of it. So I think we can start. All right. So basically, this article, that the topic of this article is the language of music, a note on the issue, the language of music. So classical music has always held fast to its traditions, which are often obscure to those who aren't within its circles. Uh, Kumar Gandhavra broke many of those rules. So this sentence basically means how classical music, it basically holds a lot of traditions with it, like a lot of rules and regulations in it and practices. And people who are outside the circle, it's very difficult for them to understand. So here the word obtruse comes, which basically means it is difficult to understand, something that is very obscure and difficult for people to understand. So people who are outside the circle of these traditional music and everything, it's very hard for them to understand, difficult for them to understand. And Kumar is someone, a musician, who broke all of these rules, who basically rose out of that and basically said he broke all of these rules that people who are outsiders, they cannot understand the meaning and the practices and rules and regulations of these music. So we'll move forward. I read Yellow Page this week, Rebecca F. Kuang's satirical as well as funny and thrilling novel about publishing. So here we have the word satirical. Satirical basically means an act of making someone or something look very ridiculous, or like raising laughter in order to embarrass a particular target. So basically, like a funny, thrilling sort of like a novel that the person Rebecca, she wrote in her novel about publishing. So it is essentially a book about loneliness of a writer in a fiercely competitive industry that seems driven by social media. So this sentence means that the book primarily revolves around the theme of loneliness, right, experienced by the writer. And the writer is depicted as a part of a highly competitive industry. So fiercely basically means something that's aggressive or violent. So it also means it's something that's highly like people when they're highly competitive. Competitive as in like, in a situation when group of people or one, two people are like competing with each other, are facing each other in a game to win the game or something like that, to win a certain event or something. So she writes about like this particular writer, a loneliness of a writer who is who is in a highly competitive industry that seems driven by social media, which is basically um, driven by, like moved by the influenced by social media, and could resonate with anyone who created any form of art. So resonate basically means to relate with to relate with anyone who creates any form of art. We now have running commentary of social media, such much of it sparked by the writers themselves. They could drive writers into tailspin, or a Kuang's book shows, but creating in previous decade may have been no less anxiety inducing. So this this line basically expresses like in this particular current era, social media, the platform of social media, it provides a continuous form of commentary. Commentary is basically opinions or comments by someone on a specific event. Like I think you might have seen in cricket or something. So uh, these commentaries are usually given by the writers themselves, and eventually it happens that they they potentially have a negative impact on themselves later on their own well-being. So basically doing this on social media, doing commentary on social media, it results in a negative impact. So the word, I think, tailspin basically here it means that become increasingly chaotic or out of control, something that goes out of control. So this running commentary, comments and opinions by people on social media, by the writer, sorry, the commentary by the writer on social media, in turn, it creates a negative impact on the well-being of the right on the of the writer itself. And then we have but creating in previous decade. So this particular line, it shows that that even though these in that anxiety-inducing things, that's something that gives anxiety to people and writers. After seeing all of these comments, they go through this sort of anxiety and mental stress, extreme stress. So these things are not something that happen just like right now. It has been happening like throughout decade, like in different time period as well. But only the difference is that the way the source of these stress and everything that is valid. Like for example, in this particular situation, the source of um, that stress and anxiety is social media. And in previous decade, it would have been something completely different. Then we have trolls are just as debilitating to an artist, whether they are on Instagram and Twitter, or gossiping over coffee after a concert or a reading. So that is not important. So the line basically here that is important is trolls are just debilitating to an artist, whether they are on Twitter or Instagram. So trolls, as in like people who are commenting, constantly commenting on Instagram or Twitter, are deliberating. Basically, it means some to make someone weak or infirm. Infirm basically means that someone who is not mentally or physically strong. So these comments by these trolls and people constantly ranting on Instagram or Twitter about these artists, they make artists like not they make artists very how would I say mentally not strong. So these things happen on like the platforms of Instagram and Twitter. That's all it says, and that is the main idea that covers in this story. So the next paragraph we'll just quickly you can read it with me, and after we're done reading this paragraph, we can quickly look into the important words, and then it'll all be done. So I'll begin and repeat with me and loudly so that you can also it can help you like with the speaking part as well, and pronounce words with me, and the words that are difficult I'll read those lines twice so that you can understand. Hindustani musician Kumar Gandhavra, whose centenary year celebrations have just begun, was an artist who spent most of his life hearing people criticize his approach. Classical music, whether Hindustani or Carnatic, has always held fast to its traditions, which are often abstruse to those who aren't within its tight circles. Kumar Gandhavra broke many of those rules. He brought theatre and literature to Hindustani music. He created compositions that stretched traditional grammar. He incorporated folk music into his repertoire. But you don't have to be a fan to enjoy the story, which is essentially about the way music allows us to understand the world around us. So I hope you guys also read with me. So I'll be explaining just the few important words in the paragraph. So here we have centenary is basically 100th anniversary of like some sort of an event. So here they're celebrating the 100th birth anniversary of Kumar, who is a musician, and so whose birth centenary year celebration have just begun, was an artist who spent most of his life hearing people criticize his approach. So here we have the word criticize, which I think many of you might know, but it basically means people like indicating the faults or like disapproving of some particular thing. For example, if I put it in a sentence, it would be like I criticized Rahul's painting or something like that. So I am basically disapproving towards Rahul's painting, or like saying or putting out like an argument or judgment towards his painting. So that is what it means. So basically, the artist Kumar has been hearing a lot of criticism, hearing a lot of disapproval from people about his approach towards music. Classical music, whether Hindustani or Carnatic, has always held fast to its tradition, which are often abstruse to those who aren't within its tight circles. I think we did this line above as well in the introduction, which is basically that people who are not in the tight. So people believe that these that music like Hindustani or Carnatic or classical music, they hold a lot of traditions. So, and like a lot of practices and rules. So, people who are not within the tight circle, within the circle of like, within the circle of this music, of this sort of an art form, they won't understand the difficulty of this particular art form. They won't understand the difficulties of not of this music. So Kumar was someone who broke all of these rules, who broke all of these like these this idea that people who are outside the circle, they won't understand the meaning of true music, of traditional music. So now what he did was he brought about theater and literature to Hindustani music. It's a sort of a study that he brought into Hindustani music. He created composition that stretched traditional grammar. So he created content, he created music that basically expanded the traditional grammar. It stretch basically means widening on it. If you pull something, it just it elongates and like becomes long or wide. So he basically expanded the whole traditional grammar. He incorporated folk music into his repertoire. So repertoire basically means that a collection of plays or dance or something that a company or or performers they perform. So here in this particular context, it says that the musician who is Kumar, he expanded their range of music. He expanded his range of music by incorporating these elements of folk music, folk music, and into their performances or body of work, into his performances. He incorporated this folk music in his work of like art, his performance, but you don't have to be a fan to enjoy the story. And so the last line is not very important, so I'm not going to go into that. And yeah, this is pretty much the most there are other paragraphs as well which I'm not going to look into because it's not important. There are no like important words in it, so we won't look into that. So these two paragraphs were the most important ones here. So I hope that was clear to everyone. So I will take questions if people have it. So for today's session, I think we did that. If people have any question, you can put it on the chat box. All right. So if there are no other question, I waited for a while. So if there are no other questions, I will be ending the session. So if you liked the session for today, you can join more of our advanced programs. I will just quickly send the link for it. Just 1 second. Also, if you would like to reach out to us and let ask queries or anything, you can reach out to us on Instagram. And please subscribe to the channel so that you can get more infos on the guided newspaper classes that we're having and other classes of like speaking or other parts of IELTS exam. So if that's all, then I'll be ending the section for today. All right then. So thank you all for joining and have a great